These people thought you were too nice to tell them to mind their business. There are some people who might have perceived you as being very nice, very kind. You know, you're so sweet. She wouldn't say anything. She just lets people get away with saying or doing anything. She always answers our questions because, hey, she's the nervous girl. She doesn't really say much. But when you speak up and tell people to mind their business, now you're problematic. And that's okay. There are some people that perceive you as being the kind of woman whom they can try. And for women, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have a sweet demeanor, if you have that harmless as a fly demeanor, some people will use that as an opportunity to try to be intrusive and put themselves in places in your life where they do not belong. You see, these are your people who are often envious and have some kind of hidden animosity towards you. They are always asking you questions about why you do what you do. Why do you sound the way you sound? Why do you care about certain things? I saw a video of a young lady. She was eating I think corn dog. She was on vacation. She was eating some type of corn dog and she was sharing the experience like most young ladies do on social media. So she had the camera up while she was eating it. And somebody behind her said, "Why are you recording? Why can't you just enjoy your corn dog? Why can't you just enjoy your food?" My question to that person would be, why are you minding my business? Why does it matter to you? Why are you wasting your and my time trying to figure out what I'm doing? But see, when people get envious of your energy, when they don't like your happiness, your joy, when they don't like your free spirit or carefree ways, your unbothered nature, they will always ask you dumb questions. And I'm sorry, I just have to say it exactly how it is. Sometimes they will ask you absolutely dumb questions in order to get you bitter and sour, just like they are. And as women, if you have been in a group of women or in a, group setting between men and women, you always have to deal with at least one woman, typically it's another woman to woman, asking you simple questions about things that have nothing to do with them. And the questions they ask will be so petty in nature, you can tell they're only asking you this, not because they really want to know, but because they're trying to be smart in some way. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a woman, you might come to work, and I've used this example before when it comes to weight loss, but let's say you're a woman, you might already be thin, and you come to work and you bring a green juice or a smoothie with you. When a person sees you with that and they question, you're already small. Why are you drinking that? Number one, that's not a valid question. Number two, those type of questions, those backhanded, like shady, like, there's something beneath the surface kind of compliments or kind of questions. These people show their envy and their animosity towards you without even realizing it. Number one, bringing up the fact that somebody is already small, that goes to show that you're focusing, laser focused on their weight. Number two, it bothers you that they're doing something to sustain or to maintain their beautiful figure. So women tend to ask these kind of questions not out of valid concern or just really out of being like, positive in some way. Oftentimes when a woman envies the way you take care of yourself, she will ask you questions that are not her business. And if you're not careful as a woman, and this is where the whole, people perceiving you as mean or problematic, if you are the type of woman who doesn't know how to shut people down in a nice way, in a kind way, I'm not saying you have to be all out mean and miserable barking at people, but just because somebody asks you a question, that doesn't mean you have to answer it. And this is where some people perceive you as being nice when actually you're kind. I've been in these exact situations where women would ask me dumb questions like, why are you wearing a turtleneck? Why are you wearing a shirt with long sleeves? Like, it would be so stupid where I didn't realize, this girl really doesn't care about what I'm wearing. She's trying to pick out something about me because she's a little bit irritated at the fact that I'm doing something different and then I look cute while doing it. And these things might seem petty, but women who not just the looks of what you might have on, for example, but just the way you carry yourself. When you have that unbothered energy, like if you're a woman who's walking down the street and you know you have beautiful curves and you feel good about yourself, you're confident, and you kind of sway a little bit when you walk, I guarantee you'll have an envious hater or some women come along and say, why are you walking like that? Why are you talking like that? Do you normally walk that way? And unfortunately, these are situations that I have been in once again. Because dealing with petty, envious, jealous, and catty women, unfortunately, that seems to be the norm for not just myself, but many women. It's as if you exude too much confidence, it becomes a trigger for them. So that's when you as a woman, you have to say, it's none of your business. When women ask you silly questions to be smart, I have to say it exactly how it is. My father used to say that. They just trying to be smart. They trying to be smart. I know what you're doing. You're trying to be smart. And women who are envious and have animosity toward other women, they will ask you stupid questions, hoping that your defenses are down, that you're so nice and so sweethearted that you'll go out of your way to answer, why am I walking like that? And if you're not careful and if you're not aware that you're dealing with that envious, toxic, that animosity, that jealous negativity, that jealous spirit, you'll sit there like a silly woman trying to formulate an answer for a hater as to why you're being you. You see, women who are envious of other women and they don't know how to mind their business, and when you tell them to mind their business, you become a problem for them. They are used to you falling for their manipulation, because sometimes they'll say things to you not in a very aggressive way, just like a snake, be very sneaky, just like the enemy, can be very subtle, but then attacks. And suddenly you're thinking, well, I walk that way because, I'm feeling good about myself today and I have on a nice outfit and, I just wanted to, amp it up a little bit. Don't do that. Never explain yourself to a woman who is trying to be smart. She's asking you questions not because she cares about how you look. She doesn't care about your confidence. Your confidence is triggering her and she's trying to do something to dumb you down. And that's why you as a woman have to learn how to tell people it's none of your business. Some people, I had a situation at my job before, one of my jobs I worked at, where I was going to leave, but my circumstance changed and I decided to stay. So this young lady, she didn't really like me like that. You could tell just by how she kind of spoke to me. It was always sarcasm, little snide remarks, that kind of thing. So when she saw me back there, she said, oh, what happened? I thought you were leaving. I thought you was doing this. I thought you was doing that. She didn't know all the details of what happened, but nor did she have to know all the details of what happened. But I say that to say that some women, they like to be nosy, not because they care or have genuine concern for you. It's because they're trying to mind your business because they envy how you move. They envy the fact that you're a woman that can make subtle shifts in her life and not really care how it looks to other people. You don't really care if other people approve per se. And women who, when you're not a woman who doesn't always explain yourself to people too, that's another envy trigger for nosy, jealous, very intrusive individuals, especially women, when they want to know everything about you and you don't give them that opportunity. When you are a woman that's like, okay, I don't necessarily have to explain what happened. I'm just here now. I don't have to explain why I decided to come back, but I'm here now. I don't have to explain why I left, but I'm just gone. I don't have to explain why suddenly my complete appearance changed. I don't have to explain myself to you. Mind your business. And as women, we have to get more comfortable telling people to mind their business. And you don't have to say it in those words. You can say something very gracious, very feminine, very kind. Why do you ask? I am good for asking people. When they ask me sometimes dumb, silly, or intrusive questions, I am the queen of saying, why do you ask? because I need to know why you're asking me about my sudden lifestyle change. I need to know why you're asking me about somebody that I mentioned to you decades ago that you barely know. I need to know why you are so concerned about my comings and goings. Why do you ask? So that is one way to get people. First, you're going to put them on the spot, because if they're asking something they should not be asking, now it's going to require something from them called accountability. And people who are envious, jealous, and toxic in nature, they don't like being held accountable. They don't want you to call them out on the shade. They don't want you to call them out on the, trying to be smart. They don't want you to call them out on the sarcasm. They want that to be able to kind of go under the radar, and you will end up being the one looking silly trying to answer them. But when you say, why do you ask, which is a nice way of saying, mind your business, or what's it to you, then they're taken aback. I actually said that to one person where I knew they were trying to be smart, and I said, why do you ask? And she said, you know how they do. They start doing the neck bopping thing. You know. And I'm like, I don't know. What's up? I said, I don't know. What's up? She said, no, I just wanted to see how you was doing. I'm doing good. By the grace of God, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. Mind your business. And don't feel like you are being mean. Don't feel like you're being, somehow withholding information. Like, everybody does not deserve to have all of the intricate details about you. Everybody does not deserve to know everybody doesn't deserve to know how you think. Put it that way. When people think they have you all figured out, that's when they start playing games with you. That's when they start using those things that are beautiful and wonderful about your personality, and they try to use it against you. So leaving something to mystery, that's not just about, clothing choices and covering up your body and all of that. That is about your mind and your spirit too. Treat yourself as sacred. And one way I do that is by telling people to mind their business. You don't need to know everything that I'm doing. You don't need to know why I'm doing it. You don't need to know how I eat. I do. You don't need to know how I can stay home all day and still, be relatively well taken care of. You don't need to really know all the details of that. Just because you don't understand doesn't make it, it's not so. But when people have envy and animosity and a little bit of jealousy towards you, they're always trying to figure out what you have going on. And we as women have to master the art of telling people to mind their business. And another beautiful thing about kind of telling people, excuse me, let me sip some of my water. Actually, there's no more water in here. This cup is kind of big for me to lift it. I hope this doesn't look bad on camera, but one of the beautiful things about telling people to mind their business is that you don't open up the opportunity for people to put themselves in situations in your life where they do not belong. Because this might be a little bit of a sidebar, but we all go through ups and downs in life, And when you are going through those down moments, the last thing you want is a hater who is privy to all of the details of your life, and now they swarm around you in order to get all the deets on what's going on negative in your life. That's why treating yourself as sacred, being more private, and being aware of who you are confiding in matters. I've said that in previous videos. I will continue to say that. But as women, these people thought you were so nice that you would not tell them to mind their business. They thought you would answer every question. They thought you would over explain yourself to them. They thought you was this kind of like dippy kind of chick. They thought you were a little bit dippy, where you can ask a dumb question like, why are you wearing a yellow shirt? And you'll really sit there and try to figure out why you're wearing a yellow shirt, except for saying, I can. I remember my daughter told me about a situation she had. She had to be in like the 11th grade. Some girl asked her something silly. It was something very silly. Like, why is she writing with certain kind of pencil or something? And my daughter responded, because I can. And then she was still frustrated by that. You know, she spoke to me and I said, well, baby, you handled it. You handled it the right way. You responded. You said, because I can. And I said, what did she say? She said she didn't say nothing. She just rolled her eyes. I said, you handle it because you can. Mind your business. And unfortunately, this teenage behavior does not stop when you get out of high school, when you get out of college. You know, I've looked at my comments at many of you all's, comments, and you say you're well into your 40s, 50s, 60s, some even 70s. God bless you. But you're saying that you still deal with this envious, toxic, negativity from jealous people in your day-to-day life. Do you know how petty and emotionally immature a woman has to be in order to nitpick with another woman because she's jealous, because she's envious? She's going to pick apart your new hairstyle. She's going to pick apart your clothing choices. Now, sidebar, I'm not talking about modesty or immodesty. I'm just talking about your style of clothing. As women, even if you're in your femininity, every woman is not always wearing pink. Every woman is not always wearing skirts. While I err on the side of wearing skirts and dresses, every woman is not doing that. But a woman who is just jealous and envious of how you wear what you wear and how you carry it. And it doesn't matter your body shape, your body type, or your ethnicity or anything like that. It's the way you do what you do. That's what people hate on the most. If you think about it, it's not really about looks with women a lot of times. It's the way you do what you do. When you are, by the grace of God, the way I see it, blessed to be beautiful, to be charming, to be likable. Other people, they give you compliments. You don't even do it to yourself. Just other people like you. You'll have women trying to pick you apart in the form of being in your business. They even ask you why you're talking to certain people. I've had this happen to me at work, where you might talk to somebody. I used to work in a mall when I was younger, and security guards, I was younger, cute, things like that. But every security person I was talking to doesn't mean I was dating them, But these women would assume that just because I'm smiling and being nice to somebody, that means, we're dating, we're doing other things. No. They would come over. Why are you talking to him? Why are you talking to him? What was you talking to him about? Why are you asking me? Why are you minding my business? It's very weird when women, and this is to sum this up, when your presence as a woman, as a confident, beautiful woman, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder and is subjective, absolutely. But there is more than just your appearance that can make you beautiful. Your charm, your wit, and most importantly, the way I see it, the Spirit of God on the inside of you, giving you that gentle and quiet spirit, will cause you to be more attractive and appealing to other people, man and woman alike. People will gravitate to you. And because of it, envious women, women with hidden animosity, they're going to use that against you and pick you apart and try to get you to answer dumb questions and be accountable to them as if somehow you owe them something. You owe envious haters, jealous, negative people absolutely nothing. These people thought that you were so nice, you would not tell them to mind their business. But you did, and now they're looking at you like you're the bad guy. You're not what we thought you were. I thought you was nice. I thought you was that. No, you thought I was a clown, and you thought you could play in my face, and I proved you wrong. Sorry. And it's not that you go back and forth with this kind of energy, because you don't. They're negative, they're depressing, they're always trying to start problems. But simply graciously telling people to mind their business and leaving them on read mode. Like, when that check mark pops up when somebody texts you or you text them, and either you don't respond back or they don't respond back. Think of it that way. In person, though. When you leave somebody on read mode, it's like they opened up the question, but you didn't respond. Mind your business and leave me alone. That's really what it comes down to. All right? Like and subscribe to this channel and share this content. Hit the notification bell so that you're aware when I post a brand new video. If you watch this video until the very end, put the high heel emoji in the comments section. I absolutely love to see it. Take care.